All right, looks like we're live on the watch page. So it looks good to me. If someone could just chime in and tell us you can hear me. Awesome.
Yeah.
I think we're good, Jared. So I am going to go ahead and kick us off.
Okay,
We
great.
got some people waiting already. This is awesome. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the Take Note Chat. This is Michele Christensen, and I'm here live with Jared DeCamp, and we'll be taking your questions, comments, thoughts, and ideas all throughout this live video. And you can type them at any time in the chat box, or later you can add them to the description of this video. So we can use the hashtag Take Note Chat for anything you want to say about this event on social media. We'd love to hear from you.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone that's here. I see Kathy, Denise, and Tom. What's going on? Thanks for being here with us. So today we're going to be talking about how to reduce decision fatigue, and we'll be focusing on this topic through the context of OneNote. So what is decision fatigue? We'll be using the definition from Wikipedia, which defines decision fatigue as the deteriorating quality of decisions made by an individual after a long session of decision making. So the concept of decision fatigue, so I'm having a hard time saying that. The concept of decision fatigue suggests that we can only make a certain number of sound decisions within a given period of time.
There are links in the description of this video to some other resources on it, including one of my favorite TED Talks ever called The Paradox of Choice. So if you want more information on the concept of decision fatigue, you can find those links in the description of this video. So if you're new here, I host the OneNote Bullet Journal Facebook group, and I am an avid OneNote fan. I use OneNote to keep almost everything in my life organized and moving forward. I'm a YouTube creator, blogger at onenoteworthylife.com, and I host the OneNote Bullet Journal Facebook group. And just recently, we became the largest Facebook group devoted to OneNote, so I'm really stoked about that. It's a great group. And I'm also a dog mom. So if you happen to hear any barking, that's me. I will just step away and take care of that real quick. I'm trying something different with the pups for this time around. So Jared, tell us a little about yourself.
All right, yeah, I'm located in Southern California, and my main website on the internet is at classinoffice.com. And you can go there and find out all about the conferences, the groups, and the trainings I run, mostly about OneNote and a little bit about Microsoft Teams.
Awesome. So I want to start today with an example from my own life. And sort of the headline of this is that so many decisions in life that should be simple are really not simple anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. There we go. So Jared, if you could check the watch page, you should see an image of a water bottle.
Okay, waiting for it to come through.
That's weird looking.
There we go. There we go.
Okay, so this is my water bottle, and I've had this water bottle for about 5 years. I used it almost daily until it broke a few weeks ago. And I like that it's a glass bottle. It has a silicone sleeve that keeps it from breaking most of the time. And I'm sure I have dropped it dozens of times without breaking it. But this time it landed right on the lip of the bottle and broke. And so immediately I went to replace it and went to Amazon. And I thought, well, since it did break, maybe I should upgrade to stainless steel. So this is the results of my first search. And you can see here that it was 20,000 results for stainless steel water bottle. And this is just from one site, which is Amazon.com. So I thought, okay, well, I know what size water bottle I want. So let me go ahead and limit it to that size. So when I limited it to just the size I wanted, and Amazon limited it to one department, we still have over 1,000 results. And this is just for a water bottle. This is one tiny decision of my life. So because I've been aware of the idea of decision fatigue lately, and because I am trying to simplify and streamline my life this year, I caught myself before I spent hours finding a new water bottle and just ordered a replacement of the same one that had served me so well. So my point in this example is that even simple choices without a lot of consequences can require a lot of work and research and decision making. And in no way am I criticizing Amazon. I really, I like the site. I use it all the time. And as a business, they respond to what people want. So no criticism against Amazon. It's just that I want to point out how this simple decision could have taken me hours. And I have made this mistake numerous times where I've spent far too much time trying to find the perfect option for something that should be a simple decision. And the reason I caught myself is because my awareness of this has been piqued in part due to the fact that we're preparing for this chat right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you and I both get a lot out of these chats just doing all the preparation stuff for it. When we were talking about beforehand about this stuff, I think the water bottle is a great illustration. And then I was thinking about the new whiteboard app and how that is similar to OneNote. And there's like all of a sudden we have now this additional choice of like, should we be using a whiteboard app, when and where and how, and when should we be using OneNote. So there's even like a lot of choices within the Microsoft umbrella, and then not even getting into like Yammer, Teams, Skype, and all these collaboration and communication tools that we have. So you can quickly see, through just your simple water bottle or like just trying to stay with Microsoft things, there's really a lot of decisions to make in our daily lives.
And we both wanted to talk about this because making good decisions and managing your decisions and how much energy you put into it is really, I think, critical for being successful in work as well as for life satisfaction. By paying attention to this concept, you can avoid wasting time on small decisions like my water bottle. And you can also avoid spending more time and energy than is warranted on something. So, in the water bottle example, I could have spent hours finding a different one, and it may, and I emphasize the word may, have improved my, in quotes, water bottle experience. But really, like, how much better could it have gotten? I mean, a water bottle carries your water around. It's like not really, a thing that's worthy of spending hours on.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And if you have your own examples, you can go ahead and post that in the chat as well, because I feel like we all are probably guilty of this sometimes. So as I mentioned earlier, there are definitely people who have studied this and written about it. So our focus today is on bringing you some pretty simple solutions and tips, and then giving you some ideas about how to implement that in OneNote. One of our goals in starting the Take Note chat and putting it on a forum where people could collaborate and pool our ideas is to collect the knowledge of our group here. So if you have any ideas about how to manage the increasing complexity and importance of decision fatigue, I invite you to put those in the chat at any time or in the description of the video afterwards. We would really love to have your wisdom in on this as well. So we have 6 tips for you today. So Jared, why don't you go ahead and start us off with number 1, and I'll take a look at the chat.
All right, great. And there was a couple comments. It looks like Kathy had a little bit of trouble hearing us, but I think some other people were able to hear. So you can check that out in the chat. But my tip number one, in no particular order, but the first one I want to mention is to minimize your choices. So I'm going to talk about in the technology world. You can really do this by minimizing the number of tools that you open yourself up to allow yourself to use. And so for me, what I do is I always start with first trying to find a solution within the Office 365 suite, because I pay for that on a monthly basis, have a business account. So why go outside that and deal with the compatibility issues and having to pay additional costs? So a specific example that I had is, I put on the conferences throughout the year. And so with that, there's a lot of scheduling that I have to do with the different speakers. And so there's there's one really popular tool for this, and the tool is called Calendly. I don't know. I'll drop the link. Calendly. Drop the link in the chat, and it won't let me put a web address. Maybe only you can do that, Michele.
Oh, okay.
So it's Calendly, and so I was thinking, if I'm trying to coordinate with these speakers, why am I going to use something that I might have to pay additional for, and it's not going to really work well with all my other tools? So I looked into it in Office 365. They have the Bookings app, and it comes a part of the suite. And so instead of Calendly, I use the Office 365 Bookings app, and that got me to where I wanted to go without having to spend hours and hours learning a new tool. And opening myself up to having to make like a real big decision.
I definitely think that's a great idea. I did put the link to Calendly in the chat, but yeah, if you've already got a suite of tools, stay within that. They're going to work together better, and it's just less decision making. Denise added in the chat that her boss calls it analysis paralysis.
Right.
And oh yes, on that for sure.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Can you drop the scheduling and booking app too, please?
It's in the description already.
Okay,
So that's
great.
below us, below the
Yeah, that's
video if you need it.
it's really cool. So Office 365 has like these business apps, and there's a few different options in there. There's like an email providing, there's the bookings, and a few other social media marketing managing things. So yeah, check out the bookings app. And
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know that actually. I just went and checked it out myself. So that's really good to know. Okay, so I am going to move on to tip number 2. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And we should be seeing a checklist here that says bedtime routine. So you seeing that, Jared?
Not yet. I'm still seeing you on the Google Hangouts.
Oh, okay. You know, I didn't select my screen here. There we go.
There we go. Got it.
Okay.
So
So,
it's going to be coming through on YouTube in a second.
yeah, there's a little lag on YouTube. So tip number 2 is to create habits and routines. So there's a lot of things you probably do the same every day, like things that you do before bed or in the morning or in the afternoon. So you can create a habit or routine so you aren't deciding what to do moment by moment. This also has the benefit of you'll get more efficient and automatic with your routines so that you can get better at doing them and they take less efforts. Creating a routine also means that you can identify the best order to do things. So, for example, in the morning, if you're like me, you might want to start your coffee brewing first and then go and shower while it brews. One of the things I like about using OneNote for this purpose, though, is that you can drag these things around if you need to. So I'm just showing a little example of how you can move these around. So in my case, one of the things I do very first is that I look at tomorrow. I look at my schedule for tomorrow, and that dictates what clothes I'm going to lay out, which is down here lower on the list. And it also dictates what time I'm going to set my alarm for. So, I learned that was a good first place to start. And there's other things I do at bedtime, like brush my teeth and, putting my clothes in the laundry and stuff like that. But I don't need a reminder on those. If I did, I would put them on my bedtime routine. But the thing about this is that I have edited it over time. So it's really become like just the perfect thing for me right now. And then if something changes, I can change it. So this has worked really well for me.
I think that's good. You're pretty good at those routines and scheduling things. And I know you've been working on your bedtime routine. So that's good stuff. I think like a popular routine time is alternatively in the morning. I know there's a lot of like top executives that advertise and promote like this waking up early and starting your day in some way that like helps you minimize their decision fatigue. Some people will wear like the same black shirt every day. Some people will do different things. Personally, what I do is like when I start my work day, so it's not right when I wake up, but when I turn on my computer and get started, then I immediately go to OneNote, and it allows me to like get started on my day based on what my day planner is, rather than like trying to pull out of thin air and like remember what I was working on yesterday and what I need to do today. Then I don't have to make a decision, and I can just start working based off of my list.
Yeah, that's actually a great tip. We didn't separate that out into another one, but maybe we should have, which is, that gives you a perfect sort of landing or jump off point for your day. Like, right what to do. As soon as you turn your computer on, you go into OneNote and what you need to jump into is right there already. So I actually think that is a really good tip to know where and how to start your day.
Yeah. And
So
I
let
think
me,
so. So
yeah,
Tom is saying Tom had a question in the chat, so I just want to make sure we address it.
mhm.
How did you find these apps in the Office 365 apps? I don't know if OneNote has synced yet, Michelle, on our little notebook here. I dropped in a link to business apps.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that
Let
is
me,
in yet for you. We'll shift F9 for manual sync.
yeah. Did you put it in the script page?
I did, just under, yeah. I probably hit it right after what you were talking about there.
Okay.
So we'll see if that link populates, and if not,
I got it.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll jump into tip number 3, but Tom, you can go to that link, and there's a couple of business apps that you can look at. All right, so tip number 3 is templates, and I know that most of us are familiar with OneNote templates and the capabilities that it has as a digital platform. The thing with decision fatigue, when you use templates that are already designed, it's going to reduce the creativity effort, and you can move quickly through a form, a page, or a topic. So you don't have to be creative and think about your next step. And I will show you a template in just a minute, because I know there's a lot of discussions about OneNote 2016 allowing the ability to have templates and OneNote for Windows 10 not allowing that ability. So once Michele gives us her next tip, I'll go ahead and show you a few templates I'm working on with my daily page, because I think that'll tie nicely to Michele's next tip.
Yeah. One thing I like about templates is that they can shape the way you think. You know, like if you have a template with 5 spaces for to-do items, then you're going to think of 5 and you're going to populate it with 5 and not more, and maybe less, but that would be fine. Or like in my case, I have a calendar that I fill in every day, something good that happened. So it forces me to think of something good. So I like the way we can use templates to shape our thinking, which is great. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the next tip. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen in a second. Okay, so we should be seeing a OneNote page with a daily template, and it has like a tan coffee sticker on it.
Yeah, it looks like we got it.
Okay, so this is my actual daily template that I use. So I'm just going to go through the parts. I would change this to the date up here. Today, this would be like my personal tasks for the day, up to 10, because I tend to bloat my daily to-do list with far more than I can accomplish in a day. So in keeping with that concept of templates, I try and keep it under 10. And the first thing I have on there is habits. I have like a bunch of little daily habits that I do just to kind of keep the house tidy and keep the mail in check and that kind of thing. And then my fitness, I write in what I'm going to do for fitness. And so that only leaves me room for 8 more. And I like this because those are really important things. And so they're right on my template, and it kind of locks me into thinking about them first thing as I'm setting my day up. So this green section, this green text in the middle, is work tasks. And so I'll fill this in with work to do items, and green is just a color coding I use for work. This very first item is something I do every workday, and it's just a set of things on my blog. Like I check the comments and respond to anything I've been notified for. I work on and from my editorial calendar if I have content coming up or whatever. And then I have some checklists that I use as well for each piece of content. So I work on those items pretty much every day. Like those are just sort of housekeeping items in business. Same as my daily habits for personal. Over on the right is my bedtime routine. And I like that it pops right up on my daily page, because I use it every night, and that way it's just already there. I don't need to, look elsewhere for it. And then this section up here called Today's Notes, that's kind of for rapid logging and new items. I do have a video on what I do with this and how I rapid log. And so this is just kind of like an inbox for anything that comes up during the day, like whether it's just an interesting thing or something I want to note, or maybe I hear about a website or an app I want to try, but I don't want to do it right then. I just put it in there. And then part of my setup for the next day is to process that. And then this final thing in the middle is my but first coffee sticker. And this gives me a space. Like once I've done kind of all my daily setup, I pick like one thing that I really, really want to do today. And it's like the first thing I'm going to tackle as soon as I've had my coffee. So it's just like a little humorous thing for me. And I also have a video on how to create that sticker. So that's in the comments as well, or in the description of the video. So this is my daily, and it's just an example of how you could set up a template for your day. So
yeah, let me show my day template.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing, and then you can share, and I'll go back and check the chat. So go ahead, you're up.
Okay, can you see my notebook here?
Yeah, I can see it, and it should be coming through live to YouTube in a minute.
Okay, cool. Okay, so what I am going to show you, so kind of is a combination of our last 2 tips, like Michele was showing the day page. And so I'm going to show you my templates that I use for my day page. And I try to keep things as simple as possible, although I have been inspired by a lot of the beautiful pages that I've seen on the OneNote Bullet Journal Facebook group. You guys do a lot of really cool stuff. But this is my day page that I've been working with since the beginning of the year. So almost 9 months here. I think everybody can see it. So I work with my wife. So it's a simple table. Actually, I took a screenshot, so these don't function. I dropped it in here in my demonstration notebook, but you can see Jared and Andrea, and then we have the priority of the day, ongoing to do, and notes for each of us. And then kind of like how Michele was explaining, like this is like our work area. And then we have the personal chores list on the side, like a soccer game and return air mattress and stuff. But I am going to be trying something new. And remember, I've stayed with this page for 9 months. So it's not a matter of like changing things quickly. Like Michele was saying, we're trying to stick with something and try not to reduce or overwhelm. We're trying not to overwhelm our decisions. And so this is the new page that I'm going to start trying. And this takes into some concepts that I think we'll be talking about next month. Is that right, Michele? In the Take Note
Yes.
chat? Okay, yeah, cool. So this is just taking into put a little bit of color on the page and just the A task, B task, C task, D task, and a different way to prioritize all the tasks, and then also still have the personal chores on the side. And we'll get into that more next month. And then I want to show Tom Ritchie's day page. Tom, if you're still on with us, thank you very much for sharing this. I got on a Skype call with him. He's part of the hub, Learn OneNote Hub too. And he has this page that is a PDF, and it just set as an image on the OneNote page and set as a background. So you can see a few of the things that he has. He has to-do lists, calls, notes, and then he also has like a little bit of a timing and a scheduling. And so you can type over this or you can handwrite over it. So it's going to operate a little bit differently than things like this page that will expand as you need, but this will be a really great option for a lot of people. And I know that Tom's been finding a lot of success with it. So yeah, just wanted to show you that.
Yeah, well, it's funny when people are watching the replay on this. There was a point that page came up, and my mouth literally dropped open, and I must have went like, "Wow" or something because it flashed to my face for a second. So you'll see that. But like, wow, Tom, that is a really awesome page. I love it.
Yeah.
And Denise also says, "Nice page, Tom." So a couple comments there. Denise, who has great OneNote tutorials and pages, says, I don't use official templates. I just create a page in a section that I call templates, and it's much easier to edit and have them available on all devices. Yes, that's an awesome tip, Denise. Thank you for that. And then she said, Denise said, I'm not dedicated enough to do a daily page. So I think she does mainly weekly.
Yeah.
And I kind of need the crutch of a daily page, just to keep my brain from sort of keeping all these details. So Tom, yes, mad props to you. You are very welcome. Thank you so much for sharing that awesome page with us. It's really epic.
Yeah, and I think like I know your Facebook group, we've said it a couple times, they have a lot of really good templates. I know Denise and others share their templates, and they tend to have a lot of color and like good imagery, which I think like sparks the creativity and is always great. And I'm personally trying to build up like a template repository in some of my membership group, and I know that people can go to your Facebook group. I think it's like a big thing that I feel like the community of OneNote fans is trying to build, not necessarily from Microsoft. You go to Excel and there's a bunch of templates available, but there's not really that option from Microsoft for OneNote. So we're all trying to build that up and help each other out. But I do want to say before I go too much on this topic, is that we're talking about decision fatigue. So remember, do not spend all your time searching for the perfect template. I think you, Michele, said it yourself that you have just made changes over time. And so you're just gonna need to give yourself a chance and an opportunity to try something. And then if you want to change or adjust, you can do that from there. And like I've been with my current day template for the last 9 months, and I feel like it's time to make a little bit of an adjustment. But I'm not, as soon as like a new Facebook post is shared of a new day template, while I am inspired and motivated by that, I try to not open myself up to be like, oh, should I make my page like that, and then just go down that fatigue thing that we're talking about.
Because let's face it, it's way more fun to fool around and make really nice looking OneNote pages than it is to actually work.
Right.
And I am really glad you pointed that out. Is don't try to create the, the perfect template before you get started. One of the things, when a lot of people come into the OneNote Bullet Journal Facebook group and they're like, oh my gosh, these are so beautiful. I don't know where to start. I can't do this. And I'll say, just open up a page, write down some things you need for today, and repeat it tomorrow. And over time, you'll figure out, oh, well, I really need something to track my water intake, or I need, something to remind me to do the laundry or something. And you'll see what you need and what you don't need. And this will, your template will sort of make itself over time if you just give it time. So, and I just wanted one more thing before we move on. When you were sharing your 2-day pages, I like that you're making a conscientious change. So the old one has been serving you for 9 months. So it's not a pointless change just for the sake of change. There's a reason behind it, which we're going to talk a little bit about that prioritization thing next month. But sometimes adding some color or just moving things around a little bit can spark a little bit of new thinking. So sometimes it is fun just to add a little bit of color, or change the order of things or something like that if you do feel like you're in a rut. So while it's like kind of a fine line. On the one hand, don't fool around with templates too much because you can spend a lot of time, but don't be afraid to try something new if you feel like it might spark some new thinking.
Yeah, and Tom said that in the chat, he mentioned that he's been working on his for, it's been a process of over 5 years. So,
oh, that's great. Thank you,
cool.
Tom. That's really helpful because that's exactly the thing. Like a new person would look at that and be like, oh, I need a page that's that elaborate and that nice and that's perfect and that comprehensive before I can even start. And it's really not true. Just start somewhere and go from there.
Yeah, and it looks like Denise got a Surface Go, and we got is it the Galaxy Note 8 and the Surface Pro 4, some of the the tablets and stuff that are being used. And Michele, I know you have a really good one. What's the device that you use?
Oh, well, I have a Samsung Note. No, I'm sorry. It's a Samsung S6. So my phone's actually on the old side, but I have made a conscious choice to hang on to my technology as long as I can because just to create less waste. So believe me, I jones for the Note 8 or the Note 9, but I'm holding on to it till I need it. And the tablet I use is a very budget conscious Android tablet. It's called the Samsung Galaxy Tab A with S Pen. So it has an integrated pen in it, which I love. And the current size is 10.1 inches on that model. So it's small enough to carry in a day bag or something like that, but it's got the integrated pen, and it's last time I checked, it was $260 on Amazon. So, that's a pretty good price.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And I'm curious to hear more about the Surface Go as more and more people start to give that a shot.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we've got, okay. So Tom uses the Tab A as well. It's a great tool. So, all right, I think we are ready to move on to the next tip. So, let me just get onto my proper page here.
Okay,
so
tip number 5 for us.
Yeah, tip number 5. Tip number 5 is to create reusable checklists. This is one of my favorite ways to save time and make fewer decisions and make my life easier. Anytime I have to do something more than once, I try to create a checklist for that event so that I have, I'm not reinventing the wheel each time. So we should be seeing something that says PT prep list. So this is a checklist I made when I was getting physical therapy. And you might say, oh, well, why don't you just grab a few things and go? And sure, I could have done that. But by having this, I wasted no brain power trying to scramble at the last minute and try and remember everything. And each of these things played a role in making sure my physical therapy went better. And it also made sure I only forgot each thing once. Like there was one time I forgot a hair tie. And so I didn't have anything to tie my hair back, which, not a deal breaker, but it was certainly more pleasant to have a hair tie. So this is kind of a simple example, but it did really help to make sure I had everything I needed and got me to physical therapy on time. So,
yeah, and I think you commented recently on Twitter about like a keyboard shortcut for a checklist like that.
Oh yeah, this was a really good tip, and it was one I didn't know. And this is one of the reasons why I love coming together in community to learn and talk about and geek out about OneNote, because people have so many great ideas. So this was on Twitter, and OneNote Central posted this, and I have a link to that account on Twitter. It's a great place to find just great OneNote information. So if I wanted to add a new item, so I'm over here on the right in this blank space, and I'm gonna type in leave 15 minutes early. And I'm just going to make this large so everyone can see it clearly. So now my cursor is at the beginning of the line, and I'm just going to hit the control button and then the 1 at the same time. And there we have it. It makes it a to-do item. So instead of having to go up here to the tags menu, you can just hit control 1 from your keyboard and it makes it a to-do item. And this would be really handy. Sometimes when I'm taking notes, like in a meeting or something, I have a mix of bullet points, general text, and to-do items, priority items, that kind of thing. And so you can just use that control 1 to denote something embedded in a page of notes as a to-do item.
Awesome. And I think I just did a little check behind the scenes, and in OneNote 2016, it looks like you can actually change that around. So there's like, if say you wanted control +1 to be another tag, then you can change it around. But in OneNote for Windows 10, I don't think it has that capability.
Yeah, maybe not yet, but
someday.
Yeah, and when I first started using OneNote, I was using 2016, and I really did love all those tags. But then when Microsoft started migrating more toward focusing on the Windows 10 version, I switched over to that. And at first, I was like, wow, there's not very many tags here. But I learned to work within that, and now I actually find it easier because this whole decision fatigue thing. I'm not picking from dozens of tags and custom tags and things like that. So what I thought was a loss actually turned out to be a good thing for me.
Yeah, that's a good point. One of my favorite shortcuts that I use is Control Period, and that gives me a bullet list. So that's one. And then I asked in the chat right now, anyone else have another favorite shortcut to share? It looks like Denise uses Control M, and it gives you a second window of OneNote so you can view pages side by side.
Ooh, yeah, that's a really good tip. Wow. Well, I'll just add one more to the mix, which I got, I think, from OneNote Central as well, which is that if you hit the Windows key and the period key, you get an emoji keyboard. So you can use emojis, which I really like.
Oh, I didn't know that one.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Look at that. So Windows and period. Right?
Yeah, Windows and period.
Good stuff.
So,
Okay.
okay. So I think we are okay. And Denise, we know that Denise has all the tips. She's awesome. She's an awesome OneNote Power user. She said in 2016 you can rearrange your tags and the top 9 and have the control plus number to get that tag. So you could customize control 1, control 2, control 3, etc. So that's another good tip.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
good
Jared,
stuff. Thanks everybody.
Yeah. Go ahead and move on to number 6, and I'll watch the chat.
Okay, thanks everyone. So tip number 6 is going to be, I would say, to be aware of what stage of life you are in. And so what I mean by that is sometimes I find myself, I'm in a period of time, say maybe for the day, it might be a month or a quarter, and it's a time that I need to produce. Maybe there's like a deadline looming, or like an online conference or a launch or something, and I just really have to put my head down and I need to get stuff done. During that time period, I don't have the ability to step back and go through this process of decisions, and even I don't even have an opportunity to have decision fatigue because I can't even open myself up to making decisions. So just be conscious of yourself. Like if you're in that time period where you need to produce, then you shouldn't be opening yourself up to making decisions. And then there's other times where you are trying to figure out maybe what your next steps are in life. So maybe it's a career change, a job change, a business idea, whatever it is, fitness routine change up, or changing up your day page. Those are the time periods that you can take a step back and go through a decision and follow some of the tips that we gave you today so that you reduce your fatigue as you're trying to make these important decisions in your life. And you can kind of like cast out the non-important decisions and focus on the ones that are important. For me, I'll often use the time between Christmas and New Year's and use that as like a heavy reflection time and time to make some big decisions for how the next period of my life will be for the next year. So I don't know if that illustrates the point a little bit, but just be conscious of where you're at in your life. And sometimes you really shouldn't be making decisions. You should just be doing and taking action.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And one of the things you said was something along the lines of, I can't even have decision fatigue because I can't open myself up to making decisions. And I think that's a great point, because it's a conscious, disciplined choice to say, hey, right now I have to produce, so I'm not going to make any decisions. I'm not going to take in new information. If I'm already producing my conference, I'm not going to take, a new study course on how to produce conferences, because that's, adding to my decision fatigue. So you can't, because you don't have the bandwidth to do it, but it's important to consciously stop yourself from trying to go down that road of learning more and deciding more. So I think that was a great point.
Yeah, it's all, you really get in that analysis paralysis type thing. Yeah, it's good.
We were my husband and I were installing we had to redo our kitchen, and we were pretty far along on it. Everything was going fine, and at the time I was, not surprisingly, watching all those home renovation shows, and I actually had to cut myself off cold turkey, because every time I would watch one of those shows, and to be fair, I learned a lot. I was able to really add a lot to the project because of that. But then I would see something like, a built-in steamer, and then I'd be like, oh my God, we didn't put a built-in steamer. I have to have this built-in steamer. And it was making me crazy with these decisions. So I had to just stop and be like, okay, all my decisions are made. Nothing can change from this point forward. So that was a point where I had to stop, taking in new information and just move forward with the production.
That's great. I 110% agree, because like I can't listen to like business podcasts like year long, because there's some times where I just know I have stuff to do, and it just opens up this decision making process all over again. And yep, and even reading books, I try to read books during certain periods of time. So that's a good point.
Yeah.
Great.
And then I just had one final thought to add, kind of related to what you were talking about, of like paying attention to what phase of life you're in, which is that it's really important to match the effort you put into a decision with the possible outcome or benefit. Like in the water bottle example, it was like that was really not a high. There was just not a high stakes decision. Whereas something like, a career, a job, a business idea, an investment, those are big decisions and can and should take a lot of decision making effort. So just I try and match those things. I try and think, okay, what's the worst that could happen, and how much effort should I put into making this decision?
That's a really good point too. I like this. We're coming up with, I think good ideas at the end of this. One that sparks another idea for me real quick. I've been implementing a new process where I only give myself 5 seconds to make a decision. For like, am I going to go to the gym? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. And like, what am I going to have for dinner? Like, I'm going to make some pasta, or am I going to make a meat? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 meat. And like that helps with the decision fatigue, because I don't mull over really these pointless decisions in our life.
Yeah, that's a good one too. It's, boom, 5 seconds. That's what you get to pick, or flip a coin or something when there's, when it's just not that important.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's do one final sweep up of the chat here, and then we can wrap up. So anybody, while we're wrapping up here, I would love to hear your tips and tricks, because this has been, a really weighty topic, and I know other people have some wisdom to share on this. So, oh, okay, great. Tom wants to know, let me ask the big question. How do you make a big decision? What is your process, and how do you figure it out? So Jared, why don't you weigh in first?
Yeah, good question, Tom. Let me see. How do I make a big decision?
Well, I can start if you're not ready.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to have a better answer in a couple minutes, but yeah, you go ahead and
start,
Michele.
So I will say that if you've ever studied the Myers-Briggs indicator, one of the personality types has to do with how you make decisions, and there is perceivers and judgers, and it's more complicated than that, but basically judgers feel stress from unmade decisions. Perceivers feel stress when they are forced to make a decision before they have adequate information. And so you could picture like a conflict between a perceiver and a judger, where a perceiver wants to gather information, and doesn't want to be pushed into a decision, whereas a judger is like, oh my God, just give me like the top 5 facts and I'm going to pick it, because I can't stand this unmade decision. And as a younger person, I was very much a judger. Like I couldn't handle the pressure of unmade decisions. It just like weighed on me like crazy. And, in his example, when I bought my first new car ever, first car out of school, I knew I wanted a 3-door hatchback, and there were 3 on the market, and I test drove the cheapest one and bought it. And that was it. That was the extent of my research, because I couldn't handle the, just the pressure of an unmade large decision like that. So I was very bad at tolerating the discomfort of weighing pros and cons and things that are unequal and hard to compare, things that might be qualitative and not quantitative. So I have consciously worked on that discomfort, and I feel like I'm much better at it now, where when I have to make a big decision, I'm much more comfortable with sitting in that discomfort and acknowledging it and saying, okay, this is really uncomfortable for me. I just want to pick something and be done with it, but this isn't the right place for it. So one of the things I try and do is to do a lot of like just brain downloading, just dump out the thoughts that are in my brain. What's swirling around? What did I notice? Get it all out on paper or into OneNote, for me, so that I can see kind of what's in front of me and what sticks out. And then another thing is really like lining up the priorities. Like, what's the most important thing? Like, I might be buying a new car in the next couple of years, and so I'm beginning to think about now, what are the things that are most important? What am I going to use it for? How much cargo space does it need to have? And that kind of thing. So starting with the most important. And then, how do I say this? Being willing to just, I feel like when I go into a big decision or something like a car, like right now, I don't know anything about cars because I haven't followed the market. So there's a period of where the confusion increases. So I'm going to start reading and start becoming more informed. And it's just this swirling mass of confusion that gets worse before it gets better. And then what I've noticed is that at some point on the other side, some clarity begins to form, like some shapes begin to form out of the mist, so to speak. And it begins to get more clear. And at that point, then I know I have enough information to start really nailing down kind of the pros and cons and things like that. And that's when that swirling mist of confusion begins to clear, is when I know that I'm ready to start making the end point of the decision.
That's good, Michelle. I love that answer. You helped me. You definitely did. So thank you for that help. I feel. What is the first one that you said? Perceiver.
Oh, in the Myers-Briggs indicator, I can drop a link to that in the comments. But there's 4 personality axes, I guess you'd call them, and in their extremes, there's perceivers and judgers, and that's either a P or a J. Perceivers, one of their characteristics is that they like to gather information, and they feel pressured or stressed when they have to make a decision before they're ready. Judgers feel pressure when they have an unmade decision. So judgers want to get the facts, make a decision, and they feel pressure when they haven't made a decision.
Okay, yeah. So I feel like I'm definitely a perceiver. Like my background is real estate. What's it called? Analysis. So like,
Appraiser?
yeah. Well, I appraiser, but like I think my title was I was an analyst. So like they'll define it different ways, but so I was doing real estate appraisals, but I was doing a lot of analytical type work, and I like that kind of stuff. So like applying it to a big decision as to how a conference is going to go, I start that OneNote notebook several months in advance, and I kind of jot down a few things, and I take a long process to make decisions, which maybe is why that 5-second thing is helpful for me, at least in small decisions, so that I can just keep that um, decision power on some of the big decisions, because I use so much of it in the research and analytical stage of a decision. And then I'll say like one other thing, actually 2 other things that I do in a big decision, like a practical tip. But one, I have been using my pen a lot more, and allowing myself to, I kind of use terms like sit back and make a decision. So I'll like try to be in a very comfortable situation and be able to jot out with a pen. And I found that that's allowed for me more creativity in some of my big decisions. And then 2, I am a big believer in having other people to talk to and bounce ideas off of. So certainly my wife is a big part of that. I know Michelle and I have had a lot of back and forth in terms of some of the decisions that we're both making and the processes that we're going. I make it a point to meet with another gentleman about once every 2 months to talk about things. And then I have a couple of close friends that I have quite a bit of transparency with. So I know Tom's a small business owner. I think having a little bit of a network of people you trust and bouncing ideas is really, really helpful for big decisions. That's all I got.
Yeah, that's all good stuff too. And I'm glad that you weighed in from the perspective of a person who's more of a perceiver. That's kind of neat to see the differences. And Denise has a good one. She said, I usually start by looking at the budget end of it. And that's a great point that neither of us brought up, that's, a huge thing, with any big decision is to look at the budget. And she said, I usually start by looking at the budget end of it in Excel, make checklists in OneNote, and then gather information on the project. And she said, I'm an admin assistant, so I multitask continuously. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. So I think we're pretty good here on the chat. That's everything.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Yeah.
I'll wrap it. I'll give the first wrap up and then you can totally close this off. Just want to say, if you want to connect with me, I'm on Twitter a lot at Jared_DeCamp. And you can use the hashtag #TakeNoteChat to add any additional comments. That helps us to try to get the word out there and get some more people interacting. It's been a really fun topic and good conversation today. So thanks everybody for joining us live. And feel free to comment afterwards. We do have another Take Note Chat. It's going to be next month. It's going to be on a Tuesday again. I think it's the last Tuesday of September. It'll be September 25th at 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And the topic will be talking about improving our prioritization. So looking forward to seeing everybody then.
Yeah. You mentioned it, but I did want to point out that we usually have the Take Note Chat on the third Tuesday of the month, but both this month and next month, it's going to be on the last Tuesday of the month, or the fourth Tuesday, I should say. And there might be some schedule changes later in the year due to the year-end holidays. So thank you so much for joining us. I have really, really enjoyed being with you today. Some of the comments and questions in the chat were amazing. So thank you for that. And I look forward to seeing, more comments as people watch the replay. So if you are watching on YouTube, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel by hitting the subscribe button. As a subscriber, you'll get notified of future Take Note chats, and I would really appreciate the support. So thanks so much again for joining us, and have a great day. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.